What if the biggest controversy of the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 had nothing to do with cricket? No umpiring error, no last over collapse, no match-fixing sting. Instead, a drink. A short video began circulating online. It wasn't polished. It wasn't cinematic. It was shaky, raw, filmed on a mobile phone. In the background, you could hear stadium noise. Plastic cups stacked on a counter. A concession stand behind the scenes. Then, the moment that triggered everything. Liquid appearing to be poured from used paper cups back into a large plastic bottle. The caption spreading with it. Corruption at ICC T20 World Cup 2026. Within hours, outrage ignited. Fans questioned hygiene standards. Some demanded bans. Others accused tournament officials of cutting costs at the expense of public safety. The location, reportedly linked to the footage, the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi. And suddenly, one of the most prestigious tournaments in global cricket wasn't trending for sixes or hat tricks. It was trending for suspicion. Now pause for a second. The ICC T20 World Cup 2026 isn't just a sporting event. It's a billion-dollar ecosystem. Sponsors, broadcasters, governments, ticketing networks, global advertising deals. All built on one fragile foundation. Trust. Trust that matches are fair. Trust that venues are safe. Trust that organizers uphold standards worthy of a world stage. When trust cracks, even slightly, the tremor spreads fast. But here's where this story becomes more complicated. The word corruption carries enormous weight in cricket history. It evokes betting scandals, fixing rings, lifetime bans. But what if the controversy wasn't about match integrity at all? What if it was about operational oversight, and the internet escalated it into something bigger? Because once a narrative attaches itself to a global tournament, separating fact from fury becomes nearly impossible. And that's exactly what happened here. Let's carefully examine what has actually been confirmed. The viral clip shows individuals behind what appears to be a concession counter. Used disposable cups are visible. Liquid is poured into a larger bottle. That's the visual. But here's the critical detail. There has been no independently verified confirmation authenticating the footage as official misconduct tied directly to ICC governance. No timestamp verification publicly released. No forensic breakdown of when the video was recorded. No official ruling declaring systemic corruption. Yet, the headline traveled faster than clarification. This is where language becomes powerful. In cricket, corruption typically refers to competitive manipulation, deliberate interference in match outcomes, that is governed under the ICC's Anti-Corruption Code. But this incident, if proven accurate, would fall under stadium operations and vendor management, a completely different domain. The venue linked to the controversy operates under the Delhi and District Cricket Association, while the International Cricket Council oversees the tournament globally. That layered structure matters, because global tournaments rely on local implementation. The ICC sets standards. Local associations execute operations. Vendors manage concessions. Temporary staff operate counters. In massive sporting ecosystems, accountability is distributed. But public perception doesn't analyze governance layers. It sees one brand, and that brand is the ICC T20 World Cup 2026. The revelation here isn't whether drinks were mishandled. It's how quickly perception fused venue-level suspicion with global corruption language. And once that fusion happens, reputational damage accelerates. Sponsors don't wait for footnotes. They watch sentiment trends. Broadcasters don't monitor nuance. They monitor public trust. And trust, once questioned, demands transparency. But transparency requires investigation. And investigation requires time. Social media rarely grants that luxury. Let's analyze timing, because timing changes everything. The video surfaced during active tournament play. Matches were ongoing. Global viewership was high. India had just delivered a strong performance in a Group A fixture. Tournament attention was peaking. Then the clip appears. Outrage spikes. Hashtags trend. Sports outlets report the controversy. And the phrase "corruption rocks ICC T20 World Cup 2026" becomes part of a narrative cycle. In high-visibility tournaments, controversy doesn't wait for confirmation. It competes for dominance in the newsfeed. Now, consider historical context. Cricket has experienced genuine corruption crises before match-fixing scandals that led to lifetime bans, criminal investigations, and international embarrassment. That legacy means any whisper of misconduct triggers heightened sensitivity. So when fans saw the word corruption attached to this video, they didn't process it as isolated hygiene concern. They processed it through memory, past scandals, past governance failures, past administrative criticisms. Human psychology connects dots instinctively. One video becomes symbolic of systemic decay, even without proof. But here's what separates investigation from outrage: evidence. As of now, no official public findings have confirmed systemic corruption tied to the footage. There has been no formal declaration that the ICC's competitive integrity was compromised. That distinction matters, because conflating operational misconduct with match-fixing transforms a reputational issue into a governance crisis. Still, even if the footage is later deemed misleading or misinterpreted, the damage isn't erased instantly. Why? Because digital narratives leave residue. Screenshots persist. Headlines linger. Algorithmic memory doesn't forget. That's the invisible battlefield modern tournaments face. Not just stadium conditions, but narrative containment. Let's explore why this story exploded beyond its apparent scale. First, visual simplicity. A short, emotionally triggering clip requires no explanation. It bypasses analytical thinking. It provokes immediate disgust or anger. Second, tournament prestige. When an event carries global branding, every flaw feels magnified. A minor operational lapse during a local series might pass quietly. During a World Cup, it becomes symbolic. Third, terminology escalation. The use of the word corruption automatically reframed the discussion from hygiene to integrity. And in cricket, integrity is sacred currency. Now, consider systemic mechanics. Large tournaments rely on layered contractors. Beverage suppliers may be third-party vendors. Temporary staff may be outsourced. Oversight may be delegated to venue management committees. In complex ecosystems, failures can occur at micro levels without reflecting macro-level intent. But audiences rarely differentiate between vendor misconduct and institutional corruption. From a reputational standpoint, both look identical in headlines. There's another uncomfortable possibility. Viral content thrives on controversy. The more explosive the framing, the faster it spreads. So whether intentional or accidental, attaching a high-voltage word to a short clip increases engagement. And in the digital economy, engagement drives visibility. This creates a paradox. The ICC must investigate thoroughly to maintain credibility. But investigations take time. Silence during investigation can appear defensive. And immediate denial without investigation can appear dismissive. This is the governance tightrope. Because the real risk isn't only what happened at a concession stand. The real risk is erosion of confidence. Sponsors measure brand safety. Broadcasters measure audience trust. Governments measure international perception. And perception can shift faster than policy responses. So where does this leave the ICC T20 World Cup 2026? At this moment, there is no confirmed public ruling establishing systemic corruption tied to this footage. There is controversy, there is debate, there is scrutiny, but there is not verified evidence proving tournament-wide corruption. That doesn't make the issue irrelevant. It makes it unresolved. And unresolved narratives are the most dangerous kind because they invite speculation. In global sport, the real endgame isn't just whether misconduct occurred. It's how institutions respond. Transparent communication stabilizes trust. Delayed clarity amplifies suspicion. Dismissive tone fuels backlash. The ICC's long-term credibility rests not only on preventing competitive corruption, but on protecting the perception of integrity at every operational layer. This incident reveals something bigger than one viral clip. It reveals how fragile global trust can be in the digital era. In past decades, such a video might have remained local. Today, it circles the globe in minutes. And when global audiences question credibility, sponsors notice, broadcasters notice, future host nations notice. So was this corruption? Or was it a viral escalation of an unverified operational moment? Right now, it sits in that uncertain space between allegation and proof. But here's what we know. In modern sport, integrity is no longer defended only on the field. It is defended online. And sometimes, the loudest controversy isn't the most verified one. It's simply the fastest. The ICC T20 World Cup 2026 will crown a champion. Records will be broken. Highlights will dominate reels. But whether this controversy fades quietly or becomes a case study in digital era governance will depend on transparency, investigation, and communication. Because in global tournaments, reputation isn't built on trophies. It's built on trust. And trust, once shaken, demands more than silence to restore. If you want deeper investigative breakdowns on global sports controversies, where we separate narrative from verified fact, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in modern sport, the real drama isn't always on the pitch. Sometimes, it's in the perception